Final score at Celtic Park, Celtic 6, Dundee 0. A lot of the talk before the game was transfer issues, no new strikers and all that stuff. But Asim, no new striker, no problem for Daizen Maeda and his teammates. Celtic putting on a big performance. This is Tino with the Final Whistle Show, joined here by Asim. Asim, your initial take on last night's big win?
What was all the fuss about, Tino?
You tell me.
No, last night was brilliant. From start to finish, really enjoyable night. I just thought there was a zip about our play right from the off. Jota was a big factor in that. Obviously, his homecoming. And yeah, I think the manager kind of quoted at the end saying it was from minute 1 to 93. I think I've seen a clip of Daizen Maeda closing down one of their defenders literally in the 92nd minute. And I think, yeah, him and many others kind of set the tone right from the off yesterday. But a thoroughly enjoyable performance and game. And I think it was good to just kind of, we needed that almost, after all the talk of the transfer window and all the ups and downs of that. I think it was great just to get back to Celtic Park and seeing the team play and put on probably one of our best performances in a good couple of months.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've got relatively strong feelings on the transfer window. You have too, and I've kind of chatted with you and seen some of your interactions online as well, and we'll cover a wee bit of that just shortly.
Try to get me in trouble again, Tino.
Exactly, aye. And then we'll draw a line under it and we'll kick on. But I suppose that the bottom line is, for the good, bad or indifferent of the transfer window, we are where we are now. We know that right here and now in February we can't change it, and it is what it is for the rest of the season. And I suppose on that basis it's just very encouraging to put in such a performance. I wonder, I was speaking to Paddy earlier in the week on the show, and he was talking about the fact that now the players might go out and prove a point, because there's a lot of noise, and actually as professionals they might think, yeah, we all want new additions to the squad and whatever else, but actually the squad we've got right now is pretty talented. And several players, Maeda and Jota catch the headlines, and we'll definitely cover a lot of them, but several players, Arne Engels, very good on the night, Nicholas Kühn coming on and proving a point as well, Adam Maeda continuing his goal scoring form. I think the team were almost out to prove a point that, new additions will come and go, but right now we're the Celtic team and we've got a lot to offer.
Yeah, and two of the players who I think, we should get as particular kind of mentions are the likes of Adam Maeda and Greg Taylor, who over the last couple of games especially I thought have been brilliant, and that's the two positions that everyone's been speaking about. And I think for Maeda it's been brilliant. You can almost see it. It just seems like a weight's being lifted off his shoulder. We all know that he's got this in him. We've seen it last season, but it just feels like he's playing with a confidence again, with a belief. He's in the right areas. Delighted to see him score again. And you're right, almost with a point to prove now, because he's the main man. He's the one that we're going to rely on, and it's great to see that he's taken that mantle on and actually thriving in it. Because for some, it's a pressure, but it looks like he's handling it well. And likewise, Greg Taylor. Obviously, there was a lot of noise about left back and Greg Taylor's contract situation, Kieran Tierney, all that. Now I know we brought in Jeffrey Schlupp, which I think will be a good acquisition. But Taylor, again, last couple of games, he's been right on it. A couple of kind of assists, or half assists, leading to what leads to the goals. And I think he's played some of his best stuff again as well. But you could literally go through the whole team last night, Tino. I thought everyone to a man was on it, and it was a kind of flawless performance and at times.
I agree with that. I think everybody to a man stood up. Kasper Schmeichel, only because he never had anything to do. Everybody else stepped up. And I think you're absolutely right to highlight Greg Taylor, because we will often be quick enough, I'll speak personally, to criticise Greg Taylor when it doesn't work out and when he makes mistakes. You've also, by the same token, got to credit the guy when he continues to put in good performances. And I don't know, in a funny way, he gets a lot of stick, Greg Taylor. I think he most likely will move on in the summer, but he'll be missed, and people won't realise what he brings to the party. I thought he put in a very assured performance last night. Just a very tidy, didn't give it away, linked things up, just had a really decent game. But I think the bottom line is, whoever now comes in, or whether it is if Taylor signs a new deal or whatever, you're always going to be playing second fiddle to Kieran Tierney. Kieran Tierney is so highly rated in this part of the world, and he will be such a big player for Celtic from next season onwards. And I think Greg Taylor at 27-ish will know that he would be understudy, and I don't think he wants that, and I can understand. And I think that's why, in all likelihood, he would move on. And all the very best to him, very sincerely, because he's been great for Celtic and he continues to be a real professional. And I thought he'd done that last night. As I tell you what we'll do, before we do crack on with the game, let's just have a very brief chat just to summarise, as I say, in terms of the transfer stuff, it's still pretty raw, given the window just closed on Monday there. My general take is that amongst lots of other noise, the manager said he wanted a striker and never got a striker. So I know I'm simplifying everything there, but I thought that was a letdown for the manager. We done our weekly show on Monday before the window closed, and there was a wee bit of rant and raving from some of us. And then the manager comes out on Tuesday, and it's all calm. It's all good. He says, listen, it could have been better, but I'm happy with where it is. I'm not going to throw the toys out the pram and words to that effect. And he seemed really comfortable with the situation. Yes, he would like to have had more players in, particularly a striker. But what I did see, my reading of the press conference, is that there's no rift between him and the board. I was thinking, if we don't back him, he might walk and all that kind of stuff. I don't see that now, in terms of his words and his body language and everything else that we can see. He just seemed very comfortable with the whole situation, as I say. And I think him, Michael Nicholson, Paul Tisdale, and whoever else is involved there seem to be on the same page. My one big concern, though, of course, as I say, he never got that striker. Daizen Maeda gave us such a timely reminder of what a good finisher he can be last night, as did Maeda. Other guys chipped in, Kühn gets his goal again. But my concern is the lack of cover. Any of those guys that I mentioned, or a Greg Taylor that I mentioned, if those guys get injured, we're in trouble. We don't have a lot of cover at all, and that's my big concern. But fingers crossed we get through things and, we can keep this squad together, injury-free for the rest of the campaign. But your own thoughts. It's been an interesting week online for you.
It has. I was on Monday and then Monday night as it closed on another platform. And yeah, look, it's one of those where I don't want to touch on it too much either, because I think, the manager kind of alluded to it as well, that you don't want to let it derail your joy, I think was his words. You can't do anything about what's gone before you, and you have to work with what you've got. Similar to you, my frustrations were just obviously a lack of maybe depth and being prepared for maybe the summer and stuff like that. And I just thought that the manager blatantly said he wanted a striker. He reiterated that at his press conference, and for whatever reason we weren't able to do it. I've seen a lot of kind of talk about, we've got more than enough for this season. I agree. Last night was testament to that. Obviously, injuries permitting, we've got lots of great options. I don't think there's going to be any issues with what we do this season. I think the squad's more than good enough. It was more just an issue of, backing the manager with what he wanted. And as you say, just cover, because you don't want to kind of have to really kind of work, give players excess amount of workload where, because we've not got the options to kind of rotate and things like that. So hopefully we won't go down that, we won't have those issues, and we'll kind of stay injury free. But I thought the manager did brilliantly at the press conference. I think he summed it up perfectly. He was honest, openly, quite refreshing just as to what happened, and he wasn't able to get what he wanted, but highlighted how good a season it's been, and highlighted how he didn't want any kind of negative vibes, and he wanted to move on from that. And I think that's a fair point. Look, Celtic's we all invest so much time, money, emotions into it, and obviously on the back of Monday night there was a lot of kind of divided opinion on things, and that's fine. I think as long as everyone's respectful and considerate of each other's opinions, then there's no harm in that. I think that's where it should be a safe space for everyone to view their own opinions, but as long as it's done respectfully. And yeah, I was quite kind of vocal on my thoughts on it. But by the same token, look, what's done is done. And I thought last night was a great way for the team, the manager, and even just the crowd. Everyone was in good spirits, and now we kick on for the rest of the season.
Definitely. And, a few days can be a long time in football. And as you rightfully say, maybe all football fans are emotional to a degree, but certainly Celtic fans, can be. And we were all, or some of us, myself and yourself, were uptight on Monday night, let's put it that way. And various other fans would be of a similar mindset to us, and some were at the opposite end saying, what's the hassle here? Everything's good. And as you say, everyone's got their take on it, and it's all absolutely fine, and it's all part of the game.
And ultimately, we all want the same thing, Tino. We all want a successful Celtic, and that we've had the privilege of seeing so much success in recent times, and I guess we're just emotions get the better of us at times, and we've all got different takes on it. But yeah, I kind of reiterate what you were just saying there.
Yeah, spot on. Let me ask you a quick question. Do you feel, based on his words, particularly in the press conference or the pre-match press conference, that Brendan Rodgers himself has evolved, matured, whatever it might be? I think he has some regrets over how it all played out first time around, and he was maybe a slightly more fiery character. I think he maybe made some calls last time out, and he said words to the effect of, I'm not going to do what I done last time out, and can I react in the same way? I think he used a term, something like, I don't want to kill my enjoyment of Celtic, something like that. Do you feel he's changed in his mindset and his approach to all things Celtic?
I think before Monday he said something along the lines of, I don't want to fall out with myself, something like that. And then on the press conference on Tuesday, he said, I think it was something about, I won't let it derail my joy. And I thought that was quite a good line to use, because even as fans, you can almost get like, I'm the same as you. I was uptight on Monday night. I wasn't, best pleased, but you don't want to let that kind of dictate then the rest of your mood for the rest of the season. So has he matured? I think so. I think he was very measured on his press conference on Tuesday. I think you could tell that he wasn't overly happy in terms of like not getting what he wanted. He made that pretty clear. But he's not going to kind of make the snide remarks this time, or the terminado and stuff like that. If the club don't match the ambition, he didn't say any of that this time. He spoke about it as a collective, that we want to try and improve on things. And I think he's being more mindful this time to not kind of, because a lot of the time, if you remember last time, some of his kind of comments led to that further feeling of disconnect and stuff like that, because when he started saying those things. So I think he's wanting to make sure everyone's all united again, fan base, him, players, and I think he did a good job. And then the players did a fantastic job last night as well, just keeping the kind of feel good going, because that's what it was. I think it was such a kind of feeling of positivity going up, Jota coming back, the Champions League qualification, and everyone was really excited. And then all Monday did was kind of a wee bit make it a bit divided again within the fan base and stuff like that. So I think the last couple of days has been good, just to lift the spirits again.
Yeah, definitely. The result and performance against Dundee absolutely got things back on track. And ultimately, it is about going to the games, enjoying the games, and seeing Celtic win. And we've seen that in then Sun last night. Good comment, actually. Interesting comment coming in from Eugene. Eugene Ritchie's a good friend and follower of the show. He says he still believes the board haven't the same ambition as Rodgers. Will we ever build a team to compete in Champions League knockout stages as winning domestically enough? And I'd have to slightly agree with certainly the opening sentiment there, Eugene. I do believe Brendan Rodgers is on the same page as Michael Nicholson. I do get that vibe. And again, covered this in the weekly show. It's the optics of it all and all these kind of things. We don't know exactly what goes on behind closed doors in terms of the conversations they have. But from Brendan Rodgers' words, it does feel there's a bit of harmony there, and I think that's encouraging. And I do think and hope they're on the same page. Final word on the transfers, actually. Paddy made his point that Celtic could and certainly could afford to push the ball out and pay, say it is 14 million for Kviesgaarden. But does that make sense when you could sit tight, get to the summer, and potentially invest in a smarter way? And the board, to an extent, are damned if they do, damned if they don't. It's the guys that say, we've paid too much for Ida, to go and pay 14 for Kviesgaarden. You kind of can't win in some ways, can you?
Yeah, my kind of final take on that is, there's pros and cons of both ways of doing it. You're right, you wait till summer and you get your number one target. But the other argument is that he'll be out your price range even more so by then if he goes on to have a good second half of the season. You then try to bed someone in before a potential Champions League qualifier. So there's a number of issues, but I don't even think it's a not backing the manager in a kind of money sense that we might have thought in the past. If you look at last night's starting lineup, is that possibly our most expensive starting lineup? I would argue it is. You've got 11 million Engels, 9 million Ida, 8 million Jota, 6 million Trusty, 6 million Carter Vickers, and then kind of all your Johnstons and Maeda, Hatate, all a few million as well. So I'd imagine, I was thinking maybe Martin O'Neill's teams, but I would say that's probably still our most ever expensively assembled starting lineup last night. Maybe. So, he's been backed. He has been backed financially more than any other manager. So I don't think it's the concerns weren't even for me from that point. I think it was more just about strategy and recruitment, and that's a whole other episode potentially some other time. But I think that's the kind of feelings with some of the fans, that it was just a case of maybe being a bit more prepared in terms of cover.
Yeah, and the hope is that with Paul Tisdale there, who does seem very much to be Brendan Rodgers' guy, that will get better. There's no doubt there's improvements can be made, and there was. Don't doubt the manager's calmness pre-match with an annoyance at the way some of it has gone. But I think there's a potential for it to get a whole lot better in future windows. So let's see how it goes. A good point as well coming in from San Fran Celtic about Kviesgaarden and the fact that he hasn't kicked a ball in a couple of months. So we're all talking about, can we get someone in to be more competitive against Bayern Munich? He wouldn't have been that guy. You'd be lucky if he was good to go for that. So there's a lot of things at play in it. There's a lot that might justify Celtic not buying a striker. But time will tell, and we'll see how it goes. Thanks to San Fran, thanks to Pat McLaughlin, Eugene, various other guys commenting here on the live chat. Thanks to Craig White. Surely not the Craig White, but you never know. Thank you, Craig, for his contribution to the show. And he also says, make Daizen a Celt for life. And I think we'd all be pretty happy with that. Remember, you do need to be a member of the channel to comment here on the live shows. There's a link to do so in the show notes for this episode. Asim, let's crack on with all things last night in the Dundee game. No huge surprises in the lineup, apart from the fact that Jota started. I think we were also impressed with how lively he looked against Motherwell. But the thought process was that he would start on the bench again and we would bed him in bit by bit. No such apprehension from the manager. He starts the game, he lit the place up, and it was brilliant to see him back at Celtic Park.
Yeah, I think the thinking is obviously we're going to start him against Bayern, all things permitting. So I think we're going to give him as much game time as he can, just to get as sharp as he can for that. And then Kühn obviously will start as well, and with Maeda not being available. So maybe try to wrap him up in a bit of cotton wool. Just because we've only really got those two wide options, well, effective wide options to start before you start on Yang. So I think
got my Palmer mug right here, taking it back to the shop on Monday.
So yeah, I think, but I've been surprised just how sharp Jota's looking, already, and it just makes you think what he can achieve once he's fully up to speed again. He looks like he's never been away. Some of his touches, and he's one of those players that just gets you off your seats. He plays with such a joy. Straight away, you could just feel the kind of atmosphere in the crowd. Just looking forward to every time he gets the ball. You feel like something's going to happen. So yeah, that was the only surprise, but it makes sense to me. I think he'll potentially start again, maybe at the weekend, or maybe like he needs that recovery, a week recovery now till Bayern. I think it's a great fixture for us to kind of maybe rest a few and keep them ready for Bayern. But yeah, what a good few options we've now got in the wide spaces between Maeda, Jota, and Kühn.
Yeah, I think from the first few minutes when Jota got on the ball, you just knew it was going to be one of those nights. He was so eager at Fir Park to impress, and he just picked up where he left off there by coming back into it last night. And I actually thought him, Greg Taylor and Hatate linked up very generally in that left-hand side of the park very well. Wee triangles, working the ball well, and then getting it to Jota. And he's got all the tricks and then some. I seen a stat which doesn't do my credibility any favours. What he said, in 75 minutes of football, Jota's already equalled Yang's assists and goals for the season. What I see to that is people just comparing the superstar that is Yang to the superstar that is Jota. You can dress up stats whatever way you like. But yeah, there's absolutely no doubt about it. And the manager leaned towards it in his post-match when talking about Jota. You can have all the flicks and tricks, but there's got to be an end product. Yeah. And actually, most folk watching or listening here will remember when Cristiano Ronaldo landed at Man United at first, it was all stepovers and lollipops, and it looked good, and he wasn't doing anything with it. He wasn't getting to bylines, and he wasn't, having a final product. And then he absolutely added that to his game and became one of the best of all time. I'm not saying Jota's at that level, but he's not far off. But he's got more than all the tricks. He gets to bylines, he gets insides, he gets shots away, he gets balls clipped into dangerous areas. There was a wee flick he put into Hatate's path, so it wasn't just for flick's sake. It put a guy in. I thought he lit the whole place up, Asim, and he set the tone for the whole night.
Yeah, and I remember when he first came, his first couple of performances, like he was doing all the step overs and things, and that was your kind of question to him: can you start producing? And very early on, you've seen his end product. I think he just got better and better. And I think even just from his two appearances so far, you can see that when he's doing his step overs, he's getting a half yard, beating the guy, and then he's putting in brilliant crosses, or he's getting shots off. Even like you say, I remember the delicious kind of touch near the corner flag yesterday to get Hatate in. Even for, obviously, we'll go on to one of the later goals, potentially goal of the season, but even there, everything he's doing is not with a view for showboating or, whilst it all looks brilliant, it is very productive as well. And I think that's what really makes him so exciting and such a great addition to the squad, because I think that's what we've been waiting for. We've had we've had Kühn on one side, and obviously Maeda's a very different kind of winger. But then beyond that, we've had to replace him with the likes of Yang and Palma. Obviously, James Forrest has been injured for a while, but having the option of Jota, it's just frightening because you've got 3 different types of wingers now, and they can rotate. Obviously, Maeda can play up top as well, but it's just given us so much, given defenders so much more to think about, and you can see that already. Both Dundee and Motherwell have struggled to live with him when he's on fire on that side, especially the left side.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've seen that in full effect at Motherwell, where he started on the right-hand side. He was doing okay. He was getting involved to a point. Then he went to the left and just came to life. Brilliant to see, and such a bonus. I'll ask you a question, which I should maybe have asked the guys at the top of the week. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had Kyogo Furuhashi and no Jota. We've now got Jota and no Kyogo Furuhashi. What do you think puts Celtic in a better position for the remainder of the campaign?
In terms of, are we stronger now?
Yeah, basically. Would you go with what we've got or what we had just a couple of weeks ago?
It's hard to say. Obviously, it's because he does obviously in a good bit of form right now, and that's helping it make it seem like it's going to be even better. And look at the options we've got now. Jota's adding goals, assists. He does score in Kühn, Maeda. But in terms of cover, that's my issue. When we had Kyogo, you had Ida there as well. Now you've got Kenny, and we don't know yet what Kenny can produce. That's the issue. So I think it's really hard to say. I think until we kind of let it play out a wee bit longer, it's difficult to say whether we're stronger now just because of the lack of kind of options in that striking area. But I do think, and Brendan kind of said it as well, as much as he doesn't want Maeda to play as a striker, he didn't want that to be the option. He genuinely is a very good fit for the way we play. If we need to, he can really be effective up there. And if you've got Kühn and Jota doing what they're doing, then it's a dangerous front three. The pace, the pressing, the variety of characteristics they've got between the 3 of them, and they're all so different, just makes for a really kind of lethal combination.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see. A couple of comments on that note. Eugene makes a good point. It's not about Kyogo, it's about the lack of cover, and I think we've all agreed there, just in terms of your balance there. And Pat McLaughlin makes a good point. Pat says he thinks that Jota makes us more fluent as an attacking force, and I think that's a really valid point as well. Let's get to the goals, Asim, because there's plenty to cover. First one, I wasn't calling for a penalty at the time. Hard to see from where we were. I don't know if you had a better view. The referee gives a free kick the other way. I do think referees are so quick to give free kicks in the defenders' favours when it comes to set piece and corners, but I really couldn't have any genuine take on that given my view on it. But goes to VAR, and when it goes to that point, there's every chance you're getting it. And we do get it. I don't know if you've watched the replay. I've not yet seen the replay, so I really don't have a take on how much of a penalty it was or not. So you can give me your thoughts on that and Engels' execution of it.
Yeah, I don't even think our players were really claiming for it much either. So I was quite surprised. I've seen it back, and he's got a hold of him, and then he does kind of bring him to the floor. So I think it is a penalty. But the argument is you see that kind of stuff quite a lot at corners, but they'd done it. There was a couple before that as well. A couple of corners before that where the guy had a hold of our players as well. So I think it was coming. Like it was almost like they were it was bound to happen because they kept doing it. They took his time when he went over, so I was like, maybe this is going to be one of those rare occasions where they don't overturn it. But yeah, I watched it back on Sports Scene. I think you can see why it was given, but at the same time, if it wasn't given, you'd probably not grumble either. You would be like, right, fair dues. So it's one of those ones. And
when you go,
yeah, and then Engels. I was wondering if Ida was going to step up because he was the penalty taker before, and then Engels kind of took on that mantle, and then Ida's not really been on the pitch a lot of the time when the penalties have been given. So I was wondering if he, as a striker now, would be like, right, I want to get my goals up and take it. Obviously, Engels missed last week, so I wouldn't have minded that. But brilliant for Engels. I thought it was a really good penalty because keeper dived the right way, but it was just so perfectly struck and in the corner. Good for him to kind of put that last week's penalty beyond them, because I don't think it's a case of any time you miss one, you should come off them. So I can see the logistics for keeping him on it.
Yeah, I thought for a time we were doing that when somebody missed, we changed it. So Hatate missed one against, was it Livingston, I think? Kyogo missed one at one point. Callum McGregor took one and missed. It was chopping and changing, and I don't believe, if you believe in whoever you think's the best striker of the ball in your team, then just stick with him. if you want to look at Tavernier, and I don't want to kind of look over that way too much, he misses a couple, but he scores more often than not, and that's why he continues to take them. And Engels has proven himself to be that guy. So what is it? Is it 6 out of 7 or 7 out of 8? Something like that. It's a pretty good strike rate, isn't it?
I think he's on 9 goals in total. So I think seven pens, and he scored. Because he missed the one at County, but then remember it was a retake, so he scored that as well. So yeah, he's good like numbers he's racking up now, isn't it? In terms of assists as well, some of his passing, which again we'll kind of probably go on to, but he's really coming on to a game as well. Another one that probably deserves a special mention.
Absolutely. I think the stat is now 9 goals and 10 assists. And Gypsy King, good friend of the show, says that Engels is slowly becoming the main man. Great passer. And what a pass as well for the potential goal of the season. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's calm down. So we get the opener, and it just kind of, to an extent, unlocks things. That's in the 18th minute. Just very quickly, when you're talking about the tussling in the box and Trusty, whether it was or not, apparently, that was Dundee's big thing, the physicality in both boxes. You know, they get a couple of corners, a couple of set pieces, and between guys like Aaron Donnelly, who obviously caused a lot of problems last time out for Trusty, him and Simon Murray and a few others were really putting themselves about. I actually quite like Big Silla, Mo Silla, that plays in their midfield. Yeah. He won a lot of fouls for them in the second half, and he was getting roundly booed for that. I think fouls, to be honest with you. But physicality was a big thing, and actually in the wide open spaces of Celtic Park, they really struggled to live with this, and actually they brought little else to the party. Tony Dock was bemoaning the penalty and all that kind of stuff, which is fine. There's 5 other goals to defend that they weren't able to do so that's the way it goes. The second goal, it's Adam Eden. He continues his fine streak of form. It's now 4 goals in the last 3 games. He's unlucky initially. He's put through at a tight angle, can't quite get the strong shot away. Jota comes in with the rebound, but he then smashes it home with real authority, and actually that in itself maybe tells you where he is just now. He's a player that's all of a sudden found his belief again.
Yeah, it was an emphatic finish. It was a difficult one as well. It came up at him at some height, and brilliant to see him score that. I was worried for a minute it was going to be another VAR intervention there. But a lovely pass from Greg Taylor, and I thought he did well to get his initial shot off. But yeah, just following it up, obviously Jota then had the save, his shot saved, and then fantastic finish. And yeah, I'm really happy for him. You know, I think he went through that run, 12, 13 games. That's a long time for a striker not to score. You could see it was kind of weighing on him. And it just seems like he's got a new lease of life since Villa Park. And brilliant to see him follow it up at Fir Park. And it's great kind of variety of goals. He's in the right areas. You know, you weren't seeing him in those areas before. And all of them kind of penalty box finishes. So brilliant to see. Just on the kind of physicality thing, I remember Rodgers saying in the press conference when he was speaking about it, he goes, "That's not going to happen again." And he kind of said that again after the game. So you could see that, you know, and that's what I like about Rodgers. Often when we've had like poor domestic results or performances, it really irks him. I remember the Aberdeen 2 each game, and he was so determined for that game at Hampden against them. You remember when he slipped and fell, the 6-0 one? Yeah. You can tell that he really takes it personally when these kind of things happen. And I think last night he was really on to Trusty and Carter Vickers beforehand, because every time their ball went up, we were right on top of it. Carter Vickers and Trusty were getting that challenge in before they could even, you know, before Murray could hold it in or try. And I thought the defence was brilliant at that, and you could see that was a premeditated kind of tactic from Rodgers to say none of that again. You know, nothing weak. And I thought we dealt with them. Dundee offered very little. I was quite surprised because I thought they were decent against us in the 3 each game, and I thought Silla in particular was good that night. But credit to us, really, we just did not give them an opportunity.
Yeah, I thought Austin Trusty would have been hell-bent on making sure there was no such repeat from last time out. And there was a challenge that he put in, maybe about 15 minutes to go. I don't know if you remember it, just kind of on his left-hand side. And it was just a straight 50-50, and he just smashed through it and put the ball out the park. And it looked like he was just hell-bent on making sure that nothing got past him on the night and that they kept that clean sheet. And he'll have been as focused as anybody on putting on a big performance, and him and the rest of the back 4, plus the goalie, done their job and kept what I think is now their 18th clean sheet out of 25 league games, something like that. Very, very impressive. We go into the second half, and this is when Maeda really comes to life. You know, he's been very effective in recent times. We missed him badly against Villa, and we'll miss him badly in the first leg against Munich. Absolutely no doubt about that, for everything that he brings to the game, going forward and defending. But in terms of his goal, it's class. It's coming in off the right-hand side. And I was so pleased for Jota, for all his endeavour on the day, you know, for all his kind of efforts to actually, have something tangible by way of an assist. But, he finds himself on that left-hand side, that favoured left-hand side, comes in, and it's just a really cute clipped pass to the back post. But the pass only works if you've got your right winger making the effort to get there. And he gets there, and it's a really tidy finish with a diving header.
Yeah, you say Jota's favoured left side. I also think it's Maeda's favoured left side. So I was watching the first half, and I said to my brother probably about 30, 40 minutes in, I was like, Maeda's not the same. On the right-hand side, he's not as effective. But I think that's the beauty of Maeda. Like, even if he's not involved much at that point, you just know at some point he's going to contribute. And then the second half, you're right, he just came to life. And the assist was brilliant. That was, peak Jota. I remember last time he used to put in some delicious crosses back then as well. And again, a couple of step overs. What a run at the back post. And yeah, second half, I think it was a joy to watch, and it started off with that goal. I think everyone just started playing. Like, I thought the first half we were good. A lot of kind of good build-up play, but without creating a lot of clear-cut chances. But second half, I think we just kind of totally were playing with a lot more fluidity. Just some of the moves were brilliant. I thought Engels really took ownership of the game as well. I'm enjoying watching him, because I think at the start he never really had any kind of poor games, but he wasn't maybe being as influential. Whereas now I think he's taking games by the scruff of the neck. He's actually like acting like one of the kind of leaders in there. And I think that's great to see, and he's just going from strength to strength. So yeah, brilliant. As soon as that third goal in, you knew that we were on for a big scoreline. You kind of could feel it.
Yeah, and it was kind of shades of the 7-1 game last time out, wasn't it? We beat them around about this time last year, was it? Need double check.
Yeah, it was because it was before we lost to Hearts, so I think it might have been March time. But it was. I remember we were 6 up at half time in that game, and you're thinking this could be double figures, and then I think we only scored the one in the second. But yeah, it had that kind of feel. Even the Ross County one earlier this season, where everything we touched went in the first half. I think we were 5 up against them at home, but brilliant. And I was delighted to see Maeda get on the score sheet again. So at that point, I don't know how long it'd gone, but you felt like,
55.
Was it? No.
Yeah.
So it set us up really for a brilliant second half.
I think the players themselves sensed it was there for the taking. All of a sudden, as you say, they had been playing well up to that point already in terms of the first half, but they just seemed to find a new gear. And keeping in mind, this is a Dundee side that lost 6 goals against Hearts at the weekend. They were fragile. They were there for the taking, and Celtic were relentless from that point on. So yeah, great to see Maeda get their third goal, but the fourth goal, it's the pick of the bunch. And again, it's Jota inspired. So, again, he'll have been lifted by his assist. He finds the ball right in the corner at our left back spot. Other coaches and sometimes some fans would say, just stick it in Rosette and we'll start again, or just launch it up the park, we'll see where it goes. Jota knows how Celtic play. He's just back under Brendan Rodgers, but there's a lot of similarities between the Rodgers and Ange style in terms of passing out from the back. And he had no intentions of launching it, and he linked up really well in that corner, and all of a sudden break, and it eventually finds itself to Arne Engels that you mentioned, who's got a real pass in him. I know the defender gets a touch on it, but he's got vision and he's got a bit of technique to get the pass into the path of whoever he's trying to target. And it's Daizen Maeda. Now, I say this with all respect. Daizen Maeda can either hit the back of the net there or he can hit the scoreboard. We've seen all of the above and then some, but I think he's getting better and better. I think he's shown more composure, more class, and talk me through the finish. It was a brilliant goal to watch.
It was. You're right, because we always probably say this now after every time he does one of these sublime finishes, that it surprises us, but we probably shouldn't be surprised anymore. Some of his finishing this season has been, really, really top drawer. That was Larsson-esque. That the way he kind of lifted that. I just remember back in when I was a teenager, going to watch Larsson put in goals like that. Week in, week out, just sublime, deft touches, chips. Larsson was brilliant at chips like that. So that's why it just really reminded me of that. Similar to even the header at the weekend was kind of Larsson-esque. So that picture that's doing the rounds on the socials, I don't know if you've seen it, with the Daizen with dreads.
Yeah.
So absolutely, honestly, it was a delightful finish. But the finish on its own would make it like a contender for one of the best goals. But when you take it right back to the corner flag, kind of reminds me of against Ferencváros, where we kind of had the ball was down in that same bit where Jota then ended up setting up Kyogo. but it just reminded me of the way we built up from the back there. Just lovely, and that's not the first time Arnie Engels has done that round the corner pass like that. You know, he had one similar at the weekend against Motherwell. He's done it a few times. It's kind of his trademark now, speciality ball. But just a sublime goal that's got to be up there.
It really has, and there's, I caught a clip of it earlier on there today, and it was just a clip from the moment Engels gets the ball, and it doesn't do it justice because there's so much that goes on before it, and it's just a great team move all round. I think what you've got as well, Asim, is Engels and Maedas and Kühns and all these guys. Either they're all now getting on each other's wavelength. These things can't happen overnight, and the more time you spend on the pitch and the training pitch with these guys, you start to find the runs. You start to realise how they play. Do they like to come inside? Do they overlap? All these things, and I just think there's a real clicking that's taking place with Arnie Engels and others. The image you speak of, for anyone that can see my screen at this moment in time, it's Daizen Maeda / Henrik Larsson, looking brilliant. At that point, there's a real, buzz. The game itself was never in doubt, but when that goal goes in, there's a real just excitement, a bit of a crackling in the atmosphere, just, given the nature of the goal. And at that point, there's still a full half hour to go, and you're wondering where it's going to go. Next time it is Arnie Engels that gets on the score sheet, it's maybe 10 minutes or so later on. It does come with the aid of a deflection, but it ends up looking quite spectacular. It comes in off the crossbar, doesn't it? But we've been keen to see him score more from open play because we know the kind of strike that he's got in his locker. And it was great to see that one hit the back of the net for 5-0.
Yeah, and I like his interview after. I don't know if you've had a chance to see his press conference after. I think he's always a good listen. He's very, again, one of those that's open and kind of not robotic answers. He's quite refreshingly honest like that. And he said as much. He goes, I don't want to be known for just my penalties. He rates himself. He said, I've got a good shot and I want to start showing that more. And yeah, he takes a lot of shots. I think there was a few games prior to that where he was getting a lot of shots off. So if he can start adding more goals to his game, he's already on 9. Yes, a lot of them are penalties, but we've seen how difficult we find penalties in the past. So brilliant, and well on his way to hitting double figures. Assists as well. It's great to see, and I think he's almost now cemented himself as a mainstay in that midfield. There was a spell where everyone was kind of taking turns and you didn't know who your strongest midfield was, but I think he's really came onto a game, and he's far from the finished article. He's still maturing, he's still improving, getting to know, as you say, the players around him. But you can see we kind of triangles and little bits of rhythm forming, but even with the likes of him and Jota, good footballers will enjoy playing with good footballers, and I think that's where you see that kind of lineup that we've got now. Everyone's kind of enjoying themselves, and then when you've got the likes of Maeda with the work rate and team ethic, it's a great mix. And I just think, it really bodes well because he's only 21, or 20 or 21, and he's only recently turned. So we've got him at such a good time where he's only going to develop and become even better.
Yeah, exactly. Just as you say, not long term 21, and we're going to see the very best of Arnie Engels in the months and hopefully the years ahead. I think he's a special talent. What I'm really excited about as well, we've seen Jota in the past linking up with Daizen Maedas and Rio Hitatis and players like that. We've not seen Jota and Nicholas Kühn together, not seen Jota and Arnie Engels together, except for just the last game or so. That they are partnerships that are going to really develop in its simplest form, as you say. Good players enjoy playing with good players, and I think there's lots to be excited about there. There's been a number of changes, Asim, and the manager's obviously right to make those changes, and you were given the scoreline. Bernardo came in for McGregor. Rare to see Callum McGregor rested. It was the right call, rest him up, big games ahead. Appearance number 501 for Callum McGregor, but good to see him given a bit of a break on the hour mark. Nicholas Kühn comes in for Jota at the same time. And then a wee bit further down the track, and really keen for your thoughts, actually, on Johnny Kenny, who came in for Ida. Jeffrey Schlupp, who came on for Greg Taylor at left back, and Luke McCowan a wee bit later on, who came on for Hitati. What about Kenny? No clear-cut chances for him, but no lack of hard work. I thought he put himself about a bit. He looks lively, he looks pacey, he works hard, and he's the kind of guy that maybe needs a goal to try and help him relax a wee bit. But the endeavour's there, but it remains to be seen if he's got the quality.
Yeah, that only the second kind of glimpse we've seen of him, wasn't it? The other was at Ross County, where I thought he, again, worked hard, linked up, obviously had that kind of half chance, good chance really, that he didn't manage to put away. But yeah, we don't know in terms of the actual quality side of things. We've not seen him, have a one-on-one apart from the one at County. and obviously at that point in the game, you're 5 and 6 up. But the thing is, we didn't slow down yesterday, so that was good because often when you come on at that point and the game's done, the rest of the team can maybe slow down. You don't get involved as much. I don't think that was the case. He was still getting touches. He was still linking up. But very, very early to see his kind of proper game and what he can bring in that sense. It'll be great to, obviously, I'd imagine, get a bit of game time at the weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts, although I don't know whether Rodgers will be hesitant to make too many changes. He said after the game he's not going to be focusing on Bayern. Obviously, kind of manager talk, but naturally, you have got a cup game against lower league opposition. If ever there's a chance to rotate a wee bit, then it would be this. So I would be intrigued if he goes with Kenny to start, and I think that way we can get a proper idea of his kind of game. But yeah, I think he's going to be involved a lot more now. What an opportunity for him! Who would have thought at the start of the season that he'll be our second striker? And let's be honest, he'll probably be coming on in midweek as well against Bayern. So an absolutely fantastic opportunity for Kenny to play in these games that he probably didn't dream that he would have had the opportunity at the start of the season.
Yeah, and we talk often about those kind of sliding doors moments in football. Examples in Celtic's recent past is Ryan Christie coming on at Murrayfield when he wasn't expected to, and having a brilliant game and becoming a mainstay. And somebody like a Johnny Kenny maybe needs that kind of break and that bit of luck as well. You maybe need to come on and have a moment, whether that moment's a goal or an assist or an important contribution. And yeah, as you say, who would have thought at the start of the season that he'd have been playing a part against Bayern Munich? Not us, and probably not him either. So, and it's up to him now to be ready for the chance if he does get minutes there. He might start at the weekend. It would be a bit of a call, but the manager needs to work out. Daizen Maeda won't play in the first leg, so does he want to keep him ticking over? Does he want to keep Ida in good form? I don't know. There's some calls to make, but I think he'll certainly play a part. Yeah. And I think, he's earned that right, and good luck to him. Let's see where it goes. We do get the 6th goal in the 81st minute, and it's Nicholas Kühn, and a lot of folks are suggesting he was like, yeah, that's all great. Daizen doing great, Jota doing great. Don't forget about Nicholas Kühn. And it was a really, really good finish. Brown Warrior, who's joined the chat, and good to see him join the channel, he said it reminded him of a goal that Mo Salah scored for FC Val back in the day. And it's that
my brother said the exact same thing last night to me. Really? He's like Salah-esque. When he cuts in, you just feel like it's going in, top bag. And it is, he's so dangerous on that left foot. He scored 3 or 4 like that now this season, all that similar kind of finish, but that's a good comparison. The other one is Arjen Robben. He was like that as well. You know what he's going to do, but stopping it's another thing. But I was just thinking, it's funny, obviously we've not seen them on together at the same time yet, but how great is that going to be to watch when you've got Kühn and Jota on each side? And that's not taking anything away from Maeda, because Maeda would start obviously as well, whether it's sometimes in the forward position or wide, but just the creativity and trickery of those two. But they're such opposite personalities and characters, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, equally as effective on the pitch, but they're so different. You even seen when Kühn scores, he's almost like raging at or something. I don't know what it is. But
he's low key, isn't he?
Yeah.
But that's going to be so exciting to get those two. I mean, Kühn's form has dipped slightly, and I really mean just slightly, because he started the season on fire. He's had such a big contribution. I think 17 goals and 12 assists for Nicholas Kühn. No, yeah, I think I was right. 17 goals and 12 assists, when I think Maeda's now on 18 goals and maybe 9 assists, something like that. Brilliant numbers for wide players. Jota's going to start racking them up. There's no doubt about that. And to see them all in full flow at some point in the coming weeks is going to be exceptional. There's a further comment from Brown Warrior who suggests that Celtic might want to try and get a £30 million buyout clause on Kühn's contract before the Bayern games, because if he goes and presses over 2 legs there, that's when managers across Europe, whether it's back in his homeland of Germany or elsewhere, that's when they start to look at Celtic players. And Nicholas Kühn will no doubt have ambitions beyond Celtic, and that's okay. But for the here and now, he's got a job to do for us. But there's no doubt if he turns it on in the way that he can do, then there'll be people looking at him, Asim.
There's a couple of things in that. 100%, obviously, against German opposition. We all know that the Leipzig one is what was the kind of standout performance for Kühn and got his name mentioned across Europe. We've obviously seen it throughout the domestic campaign. As you say, maybe a slight tail off in the last few weeks. But he'll be itching to start that game. He will start it. Obviously, Maeda won't be available. And a couple of good performances or a goal there will ramp up his demand and price. I think there will be interest in the summer. Yeah, I'm almost kind of preparing myself now. Like that's the way of it. With any of our players that have breakthrough seasons, as soon as the kind of bigger clubs, clubs in bigger leagues come calling, then it's difficult. But the other point, people say maybe he was frustrated at being on the bench, potentially, but I don't think that's a bad thing, because now it's not Yang and Palma who are vying for his places. It's Jota, Kühn, and Maeda. Healthy competition for places, and it almost felt like that yesterday when he came on. He's wanting to be like, right, okay, all the fanfares now about Jota. A couple of months ago it was me, so he's probably wanting to get that again. And yeah, players thrive off that as long as it's healthy competition and they're all working together. It could be brilliant for us.
Yeah, spot on. And I think he's just, as you say, he's a different personality to Jota. I've no issues with how he celebrated or not. He's not a young man who gets too excited one way or another. He's fairly reserved. I've watched him in press conferences. He speaks well, but he's quite reserved as a personality. But there's no doubt he has a huge impact. And maybe is just annoyed at being on the bench, and that's absolutely fine. You want guys that are hungry to prove a point and, have an impact every time they take to the park. There's a good point coming in from Tommy Dawson, and he's asking if we spoke about Rio Hatate and his form. We've not, so it with so much going on, and there was so much going on last night. But Thomas is absolutely right to highlight it because Hatate has picked up his form. He had some frustrating moments, maybe a month or so ago, but he just continues to remind us of the qualities he's got. I thought he had a very good game, Asim, last night, and again, good players enjoy playing with good players, and he will like the fact that he's once again able to link up with Jota amongst others.
Yeah, we know what we're going to get with him now. Well, no, that's it. The issue is we don't know what we're going to get with him. But in terms of, he gave the ball away a few times again last night. Like he will give the ball away at times, but then he is one of the few players in our team that has that special ability to, it's the way he uses his body sometimes is great to watch. Just to create a half yard the way he did against Young Boys, and then he's got that pass in him. You've now got Engels doing that as well. And as you say, it just looks like they're all enjoying playing with each other at the moment. And I agree. I think Villa game he was good, and then at the weekend as well, and then yesterday. So he's on a good run of form, and we all highlight when he's not. So as you mentioned with Taylor earlier and Nida as well, we have to praise them when they're on form. And right now it looks like we're in a good spot where everybody seems to be on form again. There was a spell where we had a few players off it, and you were trying to pick who's the best three for midfield. But Engels is playing well and Atate's playing well. Obviously, we will mention McCowan, who I thought played well at Fir Park yesterday. He came on later in the game, so didn't have much time to influence it. And then Callum was great against Young Boys. I know he wasn't brilliant against Motherwell at points in the first half, but he'll be raring to go again next week. So good problems to have for the manager, in terms of picking his best 11. But that's what you want.
Exactly that. And, I think there's three very genuine contenders for man of the match last night in terms of Maeda, who did get it, Jota, who could have got it, and Arnie Engels, his 2-goal contribution as well. So I think when you've got guys scrapping it out for man of the match performances, then that's a really healthy position to be in. Just a quick note on Jeffrey Schlupp. He came in and looked quite tidy. He was keen to get on the ball. He got some early touches. He played a couple of decent through balls to Maeda. A couple of slack moments as well. And he's a guy who's not played a lot of football in recent times. But do you get the vibe that he'll be an able replacement, whether it's for Taylor or he does have versatility to play elsewhere as well?
Yeah, I was pretty happy with the signing, to be honest. I think it's a no-brainer in the sense that he brings a wealth of experience. He's quite physical. We've seen him. I've seen him at Palace and Leicester before, and he's always been a steady, reliable player who's capable of some great goals as well. All the attributes for what you want. And just I thought yesterday, it looked a bit rusty at times, but also you could see what he will bring to the side, and that is that kind of pace and power and physicality. I'm sure once he's up and running, he's not played a lot of games, so that'll just probably take him. I think again he might start at the weekend, and that'll be a good game for him to get up to match sharpness. So I think I know it's only till the summer, but I think if he does well, it could be one that we extend as well. Again, depending on the Greg Taylor situation, but could be ideal if you've got Tierney in, and then you've got Schlupp, who if he has a good 3-4 months here, is happy to kind of play as a squad player as well. So yeah, I think that's a signing that I've got no issues with, and I think a lot of fans are similar. They think he could come in, and he seems like, again, a good guy in terms of his personality and what he'll bring. And Rodgers obviously is big on that as well. So I think I am looking forward to seeing more of him.
Yeah, and you can see it making sense that if he comes in, does what you've suggested and plays decent minutes but provides good cover, then we're going to need somebody to cover for Kieran Tierney. If it's not Greg Taylor, maybe it is Jeffrey Schlupp. So we'll watch that space in the coming weeks. Asim, as I say, Nicholas Kühn rounded off the scoring, made it 6-0 on the night. A couple of comments from the guys who had different bets on last night and remember to bet responsibly and all that kind of stuff. But a wee bit of frustration. Pat McLaughlin had 6-0 Jota last night. I presume he means Jota to score first. So hard luck with that, Pat. Gypsy King has not put it up here, but I need to give a shout out to Gypsy King, who sent me a message pre-match and said it'll be 6-0 Tino, and he got a bet on it. He showed me his
He also sent me a message telling me to stop panicking. So cheers, Gypsy King. I've taken that on board.
And another message, San Fran had 5-0, sack the board. So fair enough, 6-0 on the day. But I just think there was a bit of confidence in the Celtic camp. Paddy on our show, we done the pre-match. Paddy predicted 5-0 as well. But real credit to the players for just stepping up and just, as you say, Asim, putting on a really entertaining performance and taking us back to 13 points clear at the top of the table with just 13 games now remaining. Asim, your final thoughts on that in terms of the league stuff and a quick glance towards Wraith Rovers and the Scottish on Saturday.
Yeah, even just kind of collectively over the last week, I think the Motherwell performance and result, and then this, brilliant, because we hadn't played in the league for a while. Obviously with the Dundee game being called off, and prior to that we had Kilmarnock in the Cup. So I don't know if our last league game might have been Dundee away where we drew, unless I'm missing one potentially. So it felt like a wee while, and then I think we've been so professional and really back to our kind of flowing best these last two games. The Motherwell game for me, I thought we were really good and could have scored more there as well. So good to see, and I think this is where we always come alive in the last few seasons. Maybe not Ange's last season. I think we kind of, the league was wrapped up and we slacked off. But Rodgers' side last season, from about February, March onwards, we were really good, and even in his previous spells. And I think the Champions League's helped us. With the Champions League coming back, I think it was all kind of ramping up towards that young boys game, wasn't it? And I feel like that's where we really upped it again. We know what we're now dealing with in terms of the squad we've got till the end of the season. So we just hope, obviously, stay injury free in the kind of front areas, and we've got a really kind of exciting group of players that we can rotate and utilise. And yeah, what a great time, in the sense of Scottish Cup, and then you've got the big one next week. Hopefully Celtic fans will be able to travel over to Munich. I don't know if there's been a decision on that yet. And yeah, just plenty still to play for. And I'm not ruling out the Bayern game, because I know a lot of people have been saying, no matter who you buy, we wouldn't have been able to compete in that game. But I've looked at some of Bayern's results. They got beat 3-0 off Feyenoord a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
They've lost 3 of their 4 away Champions League games. They lead goals. They were 4-3 at the last week in Bundesliga. I think we can give them a scare. That's all I'm asking for. A bit, give them a fright and really compete. And I think we're more than capable.
Yeah, I think if Celtic, the home leg obviously is next Wednesday, 12th at Celtic Park. If Celtic just give us something to take to Germany, something to hold on to there, something to get us excited about, then I think that would be acceptable by most. I've been kind of going with the kind of line, generally speaking, of no one expects us to beat Bayern. Come the pre-match next week, I'll have us winning 4-0. You know what I mean? That's just the way it goes sometimes. But listen, Asim, thanks for joining us here today. Thanks to everyone for all the brilliant comments. It really helps out and really makes the episode what it is. Remember to check the show notes out for how you can either join the channel if you watch on YouTube or subscribe to the Celtic Exchange Plus if you're a listener. We will be back on Friday tomorrow with the pre-match for that Wraith Rovers Scottish Cup game. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your week. We'll catch you all again really soon.
Cheers, guys.